Hello, Facebook. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to Thursday Talk with Marquita J. Welcome to everybody. Hope you are having a wonderful day. It's a beautiful, almost fall season. So you guys come on in. We are live today with our special guest, my lovely hubby, the one and only Mr. Gary Johnson.
How you doing?
He is here to talk with us today about our topic, identity crisis, and the question most of us have asked in our daily lives are, who am I? So we want to try to help us discover who we are in our lives, to our families, to ourselves, and to the world. And so we're going to just have an open discussion. Thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure.
I appreciate you jumping on here with me with our Thursday Talks on Facebook Live. And we will also be sharing this on our YouTube channel, Marquita J on YouTube. So anybody you know, hey, just tell them to jump on and let's hear about identity crisis. Hello, everybody. Hello, PMU family. Thank you guys for joining, each and every one of you. Thank you so much for joining. So we want to I want to give a little bit of insight what identity crisis is. And it is a period of uncertainty and confusion in which a person's sense of identity becomes insecure. We typically have an identity crisis due to change in unexpected aims or roles in society. So we're not really sure where we fit in our families. You know, you've heard people say, I'm the black sheep of my family. We hear people say, I don't fit. I don't know how what I do or how I believe fit in the form of what everybody else is wanting or believing that I should be. So many times we face identity crisis, and just because you're a little confused about who you are doesn't necessarily mean you're having a crisis. But for the most part, we are experiencing identity crisis due to uncertainties in our lives, certain foundations that we don't have, certain aspects of our life that we should have obtained that we don't get in our youth and growing up. And I know for me, many of you know my fatherless journey. I definitely experienced identity crisis because I just didn't know who I was. You know, I remember as a young girl walking down the street looking to see if I fit in people's faces. Like, could I find my face in a stranger's face? And I remember trying to find out who I was and where did I fit. And so today we want to discover ways that we can solve our identity crisis if we're having it. If even as adults, we're still not sure where we come from. And what I love about my husband, Gary, is he comes from a very strong family background. I love their story. I love every bit of the triumph that they overcame. You know, my father-in-law, he grew up fatherless, but he was determined not to pass that on to his children. 4 sons. My husband is one of 4 sons, and Pop Johnson taught them how to be men, how to take care of family, how to be survivors. Mama Johnson taught them, and she came from a family that was tight-knit, and I mean, cousins and uncles and aunts and sisters and brothers grew up like just in a nest of family. And so she was able to pass that on to my husband. And so I'm excited that I get to see it in action. Not, you know, it's not a wish anymore, but I am a part of a family that shows you what family is. Did they agree on everything? No. Did they like everything everyone did? No. But were they a family? Yes. And that's what makes me proud to be a part of the Johnson clan. That's what I call it, the Johnson clan. And so I want my husband Gary to just talk a little bit about how he sees identity and what form you see it in.
Well, identity definitely comes in different forms, and it also changes as we grow and mature. When I was coming up, my identity was actually Charlie Johnson's son. I was the second of 4 kids or children. My dad doesn't like to call us kids, but I was the second of 4 children, and my identity was actually in that structure. Mm-hmm. And I identified myself as Gary, the second son. And so I played that role. But as I grew up and I went to junior high and high school, I allowed my surroundings, my friends, and situations to kind of shape and mold my personality, thus changing my identity. One thing about identity, and not only the fact that it changes, it's within our power.
Yes, I like
to identify ourselves. And a lot of times we identify ourselves from situations.
Yes.
Not to say that some people play the victim role, but they use that. That's who I am. Mm-hmm. And they identify it. And by identifying with that, then they take on that personality. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And by taking on that personality, it becomes them.
Yes.
But we know that we do have the ability to change our identity.
That's right.
And I think there's a saying that you are the 5 people that you are around. So if you want to change your identity, if you are going through a crisis right now, who am I? Then find yourself finding other ways, other avenues to change your identity, because you don't have to stay who you are.
That's right.
One thing that bothers me when I hear people say, well, that's just who I am. Well, when you say that, you actually give other people the right to say that as well. So you can say, well, when someone tell you, okay, well, you're a mean person, or you're so blunt, then you say, well, that's just who I am. But if that same person starts saying things or acting a certain way, they give them the right to say, well, look, that's just who I am.
Wow.
So if you find yourself in a position to where you're not pleasant to a lot of people, perhaps you need to check your own self to say, okay, why do people say this? Why am I like this? And maybe I need to start making some changes. It's a form of intelligence being able to make some changes. So if you are going through a crisis and you're looking for something different in your life, now I say just try to find something or somebody different and doing something different to help you to change.
That's good. And that goes right into how we can solve our identity crisis. Maybe we just don't know. Maybe we don't have an idea of how we can change who we are. And you don't have to necessarily be a bad person to change, but it is always great to improve yourself.
Absolutely.
It is always great to put yourself in a position where you can grow mentally, spiritually, where you can mature from the ways that you were once living, the ways you were once going. You have an opportunity to change it. So I have 4 steps that I want us to discuss. And if you have any questions, please, if you have comments, please put it in the comment section. Like Matt Taylor said, start with hanging your, I'm thinking he's saying changing your environment. It changes your thoughts and thinking. Absolutely, Matt. When we change our environment, every now and again I would change my living room around or my bedroom around. Why? Because I get tired of that same environment, so change it around, change your friends. You can't change your family, but you can change your environment. You can change what you're doing on a daily basis, where you're going, so say you go up the highway this way every morning. Well, tomorrow morning, go a different way. You never know what changing your route will do for you. So number 1, I would say in how to solve your identity crisis is explore your qualities or your characteristics. What is it about you that makes you be who you are? What are your values? And we have to be able to see our values. We have to be able to see who we are. So don't be so hard on yourself, so critical about yourself. But there's got to be some points about you that you say, I kind of like this about me. And when you can see those qualities, jot them down, and then begin to build on it. So say you like art. What about art you like? I like drawing. Well, go get you some drawing pads and some drawing pencils or ink or paint, and just start jotting down and drawing. It may not look perfect. It may look a mess in the beginning, but keep at it. Keep going. And guess what? After a while, you're going to find that artistic side of you. So find what you think is great about you. Don't worry about what other people are thinking, because some people may not think is great about you. That's okay. But if you see the value in what you love and what you're doing, then build on that, and it helps dismiss that identity crisis that's trying to take over in your life.
Absolutely. I think that's very good to explore your qualities about yourself, because everyone has something good about themselves, something positive. And one thing, a lot of businesses were started simply because of a love that someone had for something, or a company was started because of an ideal, something that they like to do, and they formed it into a business or a company, or a hobby that everybody started picking up. And if you can do that, and like what my wife was saying, that she was looking into people's face, trying to identify herself growing up without a father. Do I look like them, or do I look like that? That is physical. That is physical. And I think that's okay. But when you talk about identity, it's actually how you act.
That's good.
Or what do you perceive yourself to be? Because I can look at someone and say, hey, I look like them, and then start acting like that. Then you question yourself, okay, do I act like that? But you actually, what you do is you look at yourself and say, I'm good at this, and I'm good at this, and I'm good at this. That's just who I am. And you start to build on that. Say you like running. So look, well, I really like running. So you start running. So now that's become a part of your life. And it actually helps you out.
Yes.
It actually helps you out because you're doing something that you like to do. And it helps you mentally, it helps you physically, as well as, hey, I like music, or I like my wife was saying, I like art. Whatever it is that's positive in your life, start focusing on that.
That's good.
Because there's so much negative stuff that's going on out there. You can easily find something negative. But when you look at yourself and you say, well, look, I'm good at this and I like doing this, then just do it. And identify that with yourself. So you won't say, well, I'm always messing up. I'm always doing something wrong. I'm always I'm negative. Find that positive things. Focus on it and just start doing that.
That's good. Michael McManus said, he's my brother. He said, if you are trying to change, you have to put yourself around the people that are trying to be, that you're trying to be like. For instance, married people need to be around married people. Growing in Christ, put yourself around Christ-like people. Absolutely. Whoever you want to be like, you find those people. They are out there. They are all around us. We just have to see them. If you want to be rich, find you some rich friends. Find you some friends that are financially stable. Because if you hang around people who have a impoverished mentality, then that's where you will always be. But if you find yourself in a place where you want to change, where you are, what you're thinking, how you're living, especially for Christ. You can't hang around people who are doing non-Christ-like things and then try to be Christ-like. It doesn't work. You have to find those people that are strong in God, that are living the life that you are trying to live in God, and stick to those people, even when it gets hard, even when it gets uncomfortable. And change is uncomfortable, people. Change is uncomfortable. You can't keep that nail on top of the wood. You got to get the hammer and beat it in. That's uncomfortable. So we have to realize that when we are trying to solve issues in our lives, it causes us to get out of our comfort zone.
Yes. We've
got to move out of what's comfortable, out of what appears to be safe. Sometimes what we think are safe places, those are the places that are causing us the most problems. So find those people that you see. I want to be like those people, and navigate to them so that you can begin to change in your life. Kelsey said, I got here right on time. Well, thank you for joining, Kelsey. And our second ways to solve identity crisis, I think, is explore your relationships. We just were talking about that.
Yeah, that goes along with what's been said about the people that you're around. It has definitely been known that when you take a person out of a certain situation, take a person out of a certain community or lifestyle to show them something different, then they know that there's something different. A lot of times we don't know that there's something different.
That's good.
So if we don't know it, then we don't change. But there's so many other things that's going on out there. For the first time in my life, and I'm so disappointed in myself for doing this so late in my life, I went on a cruise. I went on a cruise. For my 50th birthday, my lovely wife took me on a cruise. And my brother had been going on one. I was like, I don't know about that's a lot of water. I don't know about that. Now I feel like one time and I'm hooked. I'm hooked because I didn't know anything about it. And so now that I know about it, now I am more interested in it.
That's good.
So, and by going on the cruise, I met people from Texas, from Florida, and you meet so many different people, so many walk of life, so many different mindsets. I tell you this, one thing that is harmful for a lot of us is that we tend to seek out people of like mind.
That's right.
We tend to seek out people who think like us, who act like us, who respond like us. That keeps us in this box. Find someone that is opposite of you.
That's right. Opposites attract.
Exactly. Find someone who doesn't necessarily have the same mindset. They kind of broaden your mind, broaden your thinking, broaden your receptives. And by doing that, you have it actually broaden your thoughts, give you another way of looking at things. There's a guy on my job. He is diehard Republican. He doesn't care who you are, black, white, Hispanic. He doesn't care. As long as you're a Republican, he loves you. Mm-hmm. Now, me, I'm more of an independent, and I sit and I talk to him, and I see their point of view. I also talk to some people who are diehard Democrat, and I see their point of view. But if you never talk to someone that is opposite of you or don't think like you, then you won't even think, you will always have the same thought patterns.
That's right.
So that's another way when it says to explore relationships outside of your relationship. I'm not saying, go out there and just put yourself out, but don't be afraid to talk to someone else that is not sharing the same point of view as you.
That's good. One thing I love about my husband is he opened me up to a lot of different interests that I was so close-minded to. I mean, I was very particular about what I ate, what I dressed like, where I went, and he was very open, and he had explored so many things before we even were married. Was in college, traveling, going skiing, hiking, doing a bunch of things that I was like, nope, I'm never doing that. But being married to him, it has opened me up because I realized that I was in a crisis in my life. And as long as I stuck around people who were like me, or people who were not adventurous, or people who didn't want to go anywhere in life, guess what? That's where I would have been. But he took me on adventures and took me to places that I thought I would not like. And I was like, no, you're not going to get me to do that. And then he was like, babe, come on. And we would go. And now I love hiking. I would never go out where bugs were.
Bugs, she didn't like bugs.
I didn't like bugs at all. But now, please take me hiking.
She still don't like bugs, though.
No, I'm still not a bug fan. But I love to go hiking. And I love, I've never been skiing yet, but that's on my bucket list. I'm going skiing one day. And I'm going to do the things that I thought I would never do. And because of that open-mindedness, exploring my relationships and being open to the people I wanted to be closest to, the people I wanted to be like. Michael said, complacency is the devil. You're right.
It really
Growth is Christ. Just think about it. You're absolutely right. If we are stuck in certain places, not able to move, that is not Christ-like. Because God He's a momentum guy. He wants to move. He's about growth. He's about development. He's about maturity. And if we are in Christ, man, we have got to get to moving.
Absolutely. And I love that because one thing about water, if the freshest water is the water that's moving. And when you find water that's not moving, it becomes stale, it's stagnant, and it's not fit for anything.
That's right.
Moving water is able to consume. Stagnant water is not. So
good.
You want to continue to move, continue to grow. One thing that I did, and I haven't done it in a while, but I used to do a lot, is that I used to listen to commentators, or I would read the newspaper or something like that and learn a word. Once I got that word, I used it throughout the day or throughout the week to improve my vocabulary. And by doing that, I began to grow. I picked up different interests. I've just trying to broaden my mind. You want to continue to move. And if you are in God, continue to move in God. Continue to ask questions. Continue to read your word. Don't always take some things for face value or from what a person is saying. Read it for yourself.
That's right.
Read it for yourself. But now I'm not telling you to go out there and say, well, look, the pastor said this and I just don't believe that. If you don't have facts to back it up, then I wouldn't say do that. But read it for yourself. Say, okay, yeah, I understand what they're saying.
Absolutely.
It was I think a phrase that people used to say that I really thought was in the Bible. It said, the Bible says, come as you are. Kind of found out that was not biblical. So all of you are saying, well, it's in the Bible. No, it's not. So by learning and by exploring that, I figured out then, no, that's not biblical. It is correct, but it's not biblical. So I would just advise everyone, when we're still talking about identity, to explore trying to figure out and how you understand it, if you're talking in a spiritual sense.
That's good. That's very good. We are overlapping our steps because
Yes.
on our third step, we want to talk about exploring your interests. And we talked about that earlier. What is it that you like to do? Find yourself doing it. Don't be afraid to step out and do something different.
Absolutely.
If you're a homebody and you just complacent with being a homebody, this weekend say, you know what? I'm going out. I'm going to the park. I'm going to do something that I thought I would never do. But, do something that will bring interest to your life, because you never know what you will find that you love. You never, if you are just doing that one thing, if you're that body of water that's sitting there but never moving. We went fishing a few weeks back and we came across a body of water and it was just sitting there and there was green stuff on top of it. And I was like, I don't want them fish out of there, because hey, that water was not moving. It wasn't fresh. But we went to another place and the water was just flowing so good. You could see the fish flowing with the water. And so that was impressive to me. And that's the way I want to be in my life. I don't want to be that person that is stagnant. And I used to be that person. I was a boring, stagnant person with an identity crisis, not knowing who I was, and was too afraid to even explore it, was too afraid to even try new things. I have a really good sister, Alicia. I don't see her on here yet, but she is always trying new food. And she'll send me pictures of stuff she cooking. I'm like, girl, I don't know about that. And she'll be like, honey, but it's good, And I love that about her, because she's always trying new things. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to try all that stuff she be cooking. But, it looked good, but I don't know yet. However, I love the fact that she tries it. And if it's not good, throw it in trash, and try something else or revamp it, do something different. But let's not be stagnant in our identity. We have to grow. We have to mature. And our step number 4 is the perfect one. Explore your future self. Who do you want to be? Once you figure out who you want to be, do what it takes to become that person.
Yes, you want to have a better outlook on yourself. I don't want to stay me. I don't want to just stay, and not that I'm a bad person, but I want to grow. I want to redefine myself. Like my wife just said that we recently picked up fishing.
Yes.
And now we're exploring that, and now we're watching videos and the how-tos. We have not caught, I caught one fish.
Yes.
But, but it's something that we're doing. and it's just a way of getting us, like Michael said earlier, getting us out of that rut.
Yes.
Getting us out of the same old thing over and over and over and over again, because diversity is the spice of life. So you want to have different things that's going on, so you can say, okay, well, no, I don't like that. Like my wife can say that some of the food that maybe cooked she don't like. I think my mother-in-law make this green stuff for Thanksgiving.
It's called Jello salad.
Yeah,
it's a Polish dish.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, and for years I wouldn't eat it.
I can't get past the look though.
and this 3 years ago? I think I tried it, and it was like, wow, it was really delicious. But all of my life, my mother has cooked this green Jello, cream cheese or whipped cream or whipped something in it, something white with green with mixed fruit, kind of mixed together. It looks horrible. It looks like something has been regurgitated. But I tell you, when I tried it about 3 years ago, I realized I missed out my whole life because it was absolutely delicious. You know, so I like what you said. Somebody type in diversity is the spice of life. That is so profound. I love that. Diversity is the spice of life. If we are not able to explore who we are, many of us will never be able to come into our identity. When Christ was on earth, he shook up a lot of things. He went and changed a lot of the rituals and a lot of the things that everybody was doing for generations to generations. And it wasn't until he was on earth that we began to know who we were in him. And now we can identify Christ as being the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. Before then, you know, people were just kind of going about their life, going about their day, trying to make changes, trying to do things. But it wasn't until Christ came that we were able to have true identity. And I want us, all of you that are on here, all of you that will listen to this replay, to understand that identity does not have to be a crisis. You can find out who you are, love who you are, and grow in who you are. We don't have to be complacent. We don't have to be stagnant, but we can be powerful people. We can understand that any life situation we've ever experienced, no matter how great, no matter how small, it can be used for our betterment in life. We can grow from it. We can use it as a platform to help others. I never would have thought that I would grow old. I don't think I'm old, but grow up and use my fatherless journey. I was told that many times, but because I was confused about my walk and who I was, I couldn't see the vision. I couldn't see myself being healed. I couldn't see myself being free. I couldn't see myself affirming my own self. I thought I always needed somebody to tell me who I was. And the crazy thing was, them telling me was still not good enough. It wasn't until I determined that I'm going to be free and I'm going to be whole and I'm going to be set free from depression and anxiety and that woe is me mentality and that anger, and that bitterness. It wasn't until I made those changes that it became effective in my life. So I hope on today you all are able to take away anything, something that we've said, to help you to identify who you are and who you will become to the world, to your family, and most of all to yourself. Thank you so much for joining me. I super enjoyed you being here with me.
I enjoyed this.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it. God bless you.
He is not a social person at all, so not a social media person. He talks all the time, but never on social media. So this is a plus. Thank you so much. And Felicia said, I believe why a lot of people struggle with identity crisis is because so many times coming up, they were hear or done, hurt or heard that they would never be anything. You are so correct. And in our few episodes back, we talked about the words that we are speaking. We have to be so careful of what we're saying to ourselves, that self-talk, and to our children, to our family members, our husbands and wives, our sisters and our brothers.
Words have power.
They carry so much power.
Yes.
And they could be life lasting. Waylon, you are so welcome. Thank you for joining us, and we love you too. We have to be so careful about what we say, because they plant seed into our souls and our spirit, and those seeds grow with us, and we'll hear those voices. I remember being a young girl trying to sing, and someone told me, "Girl, shut up, you can't sing." And those words continually to echo in my head, and I struggle to this day with singing in public, because I feel like I can't sing because that one person kept telling me I couldn't sing. And so I'm fighting hard to combat those words, but the fact that they were there, so we have to be very careful of what we're saying so that we don't trip anybody up on who they are. Give them positive identity. Our families are very important. Our families are very important, but it's those peers that's going to influence us the most.
Yes.
It's our peers. It's the ones that we are like in the same age group, the same categories. They give us our most influence. So teach your children how to build people up, because children can be very cruel. We can say some mean and nasty things. And some of that lies because of what they're feeling on the inside, the things that they've experienced at home, and we give that to them. So if we feed them positive affirmations, give them positive assurance of who they are, maybe they will pass that on to their peers and make better impact in their classrooms, on the playground, wherever they are. So we thank you guys so much. Katrinka, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to give up on singing, but my apostle told me, don't do it yet. There was a few years ago. Please, prophet, don't ever stop singing.
Please don't.
You don't ever, because you bless my soul every time you sing. So yeah, never stop singing. And you don't have to be on somebody's platform in order to be a blessing to somebody, because when you sing to us, I'm telling you, you break chains off of us. So thank you for continuing to sing. So we thank you guys for joining us. Do you have anything else?
The last thing I want to say is that do not allow people to identify you. Whether you grew up without your father, grew up without your mother, or grew up in a tumultuous situation in your home, if you grew up didn't have a lot of money, don't let situations identify you. Those are things that happen. Those are things that were in your life, but it's not your identity.
That's right.
Your identity is what you identify with. So identify with being smart. Identify with being an overcomer. Don't say, well, I grew up in the hood, so I'm hood. And when you say that, then that put that persona on you.
That's right.
So if you grew up in a bad place, I'm not saying that it was a bad place, but if you grew up in a bad place, and they say, well, where you from? You say, well, I'm from here, but my name is Gary. One thing that happened to me some years ago, there's an area in Houston, I'm not going to call the name out, but there's an area in Houston that's kind of a rough area. And I saw a guy up here from Houston. And when I saw him and he told me where he was from, I said, oh, wow, you from there. And he said, yeah, everything that come out of there is not a thug. And that hurt me, that I identify him
that's good.
with where he came from. But he was working in the bank. So when he said that, I realized, no, where you're from is not your identity.
That's right.
Who hurt you is not your identity.
That's good.
No, father not being in your life is not your identity.
That's good.
Your identity, if you are in Christ, is Christ.
That's good.
And the things of Christ, that's your identity.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing it.
Amen.
Because sometimes we don't realize what we put on people.
Absolutely.
And when you realize that you're putting that on someone, make that change. Make that change. So thank you so much. This has been an awesome discussion. Identity crisis. Who am I? I hope that you recognize who you are now and are able to grow and develop in that area, whether it's emotional, physical, spiritual, psychological, wherever your area of growth is needed. I hope that you gain something on it. Thank you for joining. This is Marquita J.
It's Gary Johnson.
And we are here to bless you and to be a part of your walk in life. Thank you again for joining, and we will see you next Thursday at 5:30. You all have a great week.
God bless you.